Drink it in, man.
Back, pressure time. Gonna get hit. Gonna go down. Sack back outside the 50-yard line. Ziggy did it.
Drink it in, man.
He's got a man wide open. Golden at the 10. Golden at the 5. Golden to the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. There it is. Been looking for that all night. Cornbread. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid, what is going on, everybody? We are back, and I'm here with the one and only Grifka. Grifka, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, man, just living the dream. Just living the dream.
Cool, man. Well, first thing on the docket, we're talking about some news and notes. We got Diggs, man, our guy we gave an extension to. He's got a broken hand, and we got Lang that had a devastating concussion. Kind of not sure where both those injuries stand, but those are both pretty important to our team. What are you thinking about those two items?
Yeah, I heard Diggs is practicing, so he's toughing it out. That's a good sign right there. It's definitely need him in the defensive backfield. Don't know if it's going to mean any more picks or it's going to be easy for him to do more tackling, but I think we need him in the defensive backfield. As for Lang, we can talk about this a little more during the review of the game. I mean, he was a big cog in the Patriots game with that offensive line in the rushing game, but it seemed like once he went out, the running game went down a tiny bit. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm starting to think of Lang. He might be at the end of his rope. So I don't know exactly how much gas he has left in the tank.
Yeah, man, we'll see. Patricia never gives anything on injuries, but I think if Diggs does have a busted up hand, that'd be a tough one to get around. And it was ugly with Lang, man. I was literally watching the game. I go, he's done. His career is over. But I thought it was more his back again. And then I heard about his concussion and how many he's had. So it's not looking good, but I think he is a key cog on that line. So with that being said, Grifka, one thing, again, we talked about a lot in the preseason, but this Amir Abdullah just never being active for games. I mean, any thoughts on that or still no big deal for you?
No big deal for me. I think who they have in the backfield right now, it's fine. I have, I ain't got no love lost for Amir Abdullah anyway, so I'm fine with him him being inactive.
Yeah, not a big deal. I guess the reason I bring it up in the news and notes is because I'm trying to figure out why he was kept, why he's here. I mean, I don't see many teams keep a guy like this just as total injury insurance, just sitting there inactive. I mean, you should either have a role for him on the team or, trade or cut bait, one of the three, but just have him inactive in case somebody gets hurt. And maybe it'll come in handy later in the year, but it's frustrating for me to see every week because I do know he's still young, he's still athletic, and he has some skill sets, but he's just sitting there doing nothing. So another bummer there, but I mean, like you say, not a huge impact so far on the team. Just frustrating item for me. I have no clue, Grifka, what is wrong with Ziggy. Like, I know these stupid NFL coaches think it's so fun to never give out any information, but I don't know why it wouldn't hurt just to say, hey, he has shoulder strain. It might be this timetable. To both give the fans, reporters, everybody a little bit of insight because, I mean, you don't know if he's got a bruise on his shoulder or if he tore something in there. So it's just frustrating to me either way. I mean, any thoughts or you think he'll be back anytime soon?
I think the only reason they do that is when a player is, ready to play or, maybe can go. I mean, everybody knows it's a shoulder, but they don't know how bad it is. So, they're going to try to, exploit that injury or, something like that. I mean, if it's a bulky shoulder, bad knee, teams are going to try to do whatever they can to get that thing. So they don't want to let on how bad it actually is. So that's one reason I can figure why coaches do that. But Ziggy, I don't know. He's becoming the guy, he's just almost like an afterthought to me. it's like one of those things that'd be nice if you were out there, but you never seem to be out there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with Ziggy.
Yeah. To me, though, he's no afterthought, man. He was probably to be the biggest defensive player on our team, even though he has this terrible injury history. So we're at week 5 now, and he just hasn't played more than 2 series. That's a huge blow to our team. And, you know, he might be gone for another 6 games, 7 games. He might be back in next week. I have no idea. So frustrating from a fan perspective, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple weeks he's back. But it's definitely hurting our defense, hurting our pass rush, no doubt about it. So Grifka, before we jump into this Cowboys review, I mean, it's going to be a tough one to talk about, but big fight this weekend on Saturday. I know you're not the biggest UFC guy, but Conor McGregor, the notorious one, versus Khabib, the undefeated, just animal wrestler. Any thoughts on who's going to win this? You want to throw out a prediction right now?
I'll say Conor McGregor. I like him. I know him. I've seen a lot of his fights, but like you said, I'm not a huge UFC guy, so I'm just gonna go with Conor McGregor.
Oh man, I'm so looking forward to this fight. Like me and some friends, we always get together for the McGregor fights. I mean, he's the most entertaining person in sports. I keep telling people, and like some of my friends just hate it. They either hate UFC or they just can't stand this guy. And I think everything he says is the funniest thing ever. He backs it up in the ring. He puts on electrifying fights. I mean, he's always willing to go in there against the biggest guy. So I'm so happy he's back. I think it's going to be electric on Saturday night. So give me the notorious one as well. And I'm calling like a maybe he gets to the second round, like a KO in the second round. Like it's just a nasty first round, but McGregor just starts getting some punches in, defends the takedowns, and just absolutely KOs him in tremendous fashion. So that's my prediction for the fight. But we got another fight to talk about, Grifka, and it was the fight that happened last Sunday between the Lions and the Cowboys. And oh my, was it one of those football games that just went back and forth, one of those. But I always say, man, the dang NFL comes down to like 2 to 3 plays a game. You never know when they're going to happen. You never know what's going to make the difference. But you look back at the end of the game and say, man, had we made this or that, we could have won this dang game. So before we dive into some of the specifics, Grifka, another loss, right down to the wire. I mean, talk to me about this Cowboy loss we had to stomach on Sunday.
It was, like you said, it was back and forth, but it seemed to be tough to watch. There seemed like there was points where I thought the Lions could have done a little more. Like you said, they shot themselves in the foot on some stuff. The defense early on seemed to be okay with Zeke Elliott, but then as the game wore on, it seemed like Dallas's offensive line, even though they didn't have Travis Frederick, seemed to start to really push around, opening these big holes for Zeke Elliott. And like we had talked about, I thought he would get his. I was maybe thinking like 110, 115. He obviously surpassed that. And I don't know. It seemed like, when the Lions went down, took the lead, I was still worried. It's just like, it seemed like, I didn't know. It just seemed like in the second half, the Cowboys offense kind of had Detroit's defense number. They knew what to do. They knew what to do to move the ball. And that was something that I was just really worried. And then, we had the strip by Deshaun Hand, but, there was no Detroit Lions around to, get the ball, even making a play for it. It's like he was the only guy that was there. And, once they realized it was out, there was like, 4 Cowboys jumping on it, and like, we're all the Lions guys. There wasn't even any Lions guys there to pile jump, how they do that and try to knock it free. So it was just one of those things that seemed like that was the opportunity right there. And even on that same drive, Dak Prescott threw the ball and it went off. It would have been a remarkable catch if he wouldn't caught it, but Glover Quinn went right off his hands and just got knocked down. It's just like you said, it's just those misses, those plays that seem to plague Detroit when they come up with losses like that. They just don't make the play. They're either a step slow or a half yard behind, and that seemed to be the Cowboys game to me.
Yeah. All right, well, sounds good. Like say, you made your way through quite a bit of things there. Let's go ahead and break it down a little bit further. So, like, the first thing on my mind and my docket is Zeke Elliott. Like, coming into this game, I mean, we had no doubt that was the guy to stop. That was the guy that their best player. That was the guy that we had not done well against, is the run game coming into the game. And I just felt like this guy tore us up top to bottom. Like, he had gaping holes to run through. He's catching the ball in those screens where we have nobody even anywhere on the field. Like, why were we not able to slow this guy down even a little bit? Like, it was just frustrating to say. You basically, like they always say, play left-handed. So you knew if you take away Zeke, they were going to struggle. And instead, we just let Zeke eat us up. And then towards the end of the game, a couple other things were able to happen because this guy had been killing us all game long. So I don't get why they weren't able to deal with him at all from what I saw.
I mean, Zeke's just a great running back. And, I hear some stuff after the game like, oh, he wasn't completely healthy. And, the Cowboys didn't change their offense at all. I don't know how much of that is rhetoric or, how much of that is, gamesmanship, whatever. But that's one of those things just like, come on, Zeke looked pretty good out there, running around. And, I just don't know with like the Cowboys. Oh, they didn't change anything in their offense, but it's kind of hard to believe that you're just going to run the same stuff out there. You're not going to game plan, have a few different wrinkles in there. So I don't know about that.
But it didn't look like anything fancy. It was running off left tackle. None of our players were anywhere to be found. Getting 8 yards, getting 12, getting 22 yards. Like, all these different runs. I mean, he didn't do anything that blew me away, and I don't know why. I mean, you say, oh, he's a great player. He did this. Like, we played against a pretty good player the previous week called Tom Brady, and we not only kept him off the field, which was a tactical move because you knew he was their best guy, so the way to hold him down was to keep him in the bench. So if we're coming into Dallas, we know that you got to keep Zeke Elliott down. So load up the box, bring some blitzes, like make sure we're gap sound. It didn't feel like any of that happened with him. So, I mean, we could talk about him all day, but, I mean, every team has good players, and it's part of the coaching staff and the team to figure out how to shut down that player so the lesser players have to beat you. And I don't feel like that happened at all on Sunday. It was frustrating from beginning of the game right to the final play, which we'll get to. That totally put us down. So, I mean, we could talk about him for days, but...
Right. I mean, but like you said, we had mentioned, I think a big part of it was that we were able to keep Tom Brady off the field with the offensive line, keeping the run game going. It seemed like the run game for Detroit, fell off somewhat after, TJ Lang went out. So maybe that was part of it. I mean, Lions had given up 3 sacks all year, and they had 3 sacks on Sunday, alone. I mean, was it? So maybe. TJ Lane's, was a bigger part of that offensive line than either, we like to give credit to him, but that has to be part of it right there. I mean, we had talked about Dallas's defense. Nobody in the defensive backfield really scared us. And obviously, I mean, Stafford, I mean, he had a good game. I mean, those weren't the padded stats that everybody complains about him. I mean, at one point, after the game, I saw his stats and I thought to myself, gosh, man, those were his numbers. It seems like his game wasn't that good, but yeah, I mean, he only missed on 6-7 passes, and a couple touchdowns. So yeah, I mean, he had a good game, but it was the defense. It just was a little short that game.
Yeah, but my thing is, we got to get into. I mean, the run game. You say it wasn't there. Like, to me, might as well just get into it right now. There's 2 huge issues. Like, the run game wasn't there because we busted off a 32-yard run to start the game, and then we gave our new 21-year-old rookie with size and speed and can catch the football 8 touches the rest of the game. We spread him around, and then we were electric in some of the pass game. Like, to me, you just ran out. Stafford had a good game. I did think he was solid, but I just felt like some of those throws, I couldn't believe that Golden Tate scored on that first touchdown. It was just a simple out. And it reminded me of that game a couple years ago. I think it was against the Saints that we came back and won in crazy fashion. He caught it, and there was a million guys around him. There was guys that had the angle on him, and he just scampered away from the whole team and scored. So I mean, Golden Tate was electric. He made a couple great plays, and those were big in the passing game. But I don't even think that we not only tried that good in the run game, I continue to have a huge issue with our offense. To me, it looks stale. It's like we're just standing around, hey, call these checks at the line, these they're premeditated type plays more so than football. Like, when I watch other teams, I don't have the same feeling I do, even when the lines are clicking. I was excited for those passing touchdowns, but I mean, they didn't feel our O was just humming. It just felt like, oh yeah, we got a couple good throws off, and then they went to the house type of thing. So, I mean, you could say the run game wasn't going, but not getting the ball to carry on to me was probably my number 2 biggest issue with this ball game. And then, yeah, Stafford was good, but Golden Tate made him look real good on catching an 8-yard ball and scoring, and then catching another seam ball and taking it to the house.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I realize a lot of those yards are after the catch that, Golden Tate had, but still, I mean, Stafford looked pretty decent. I mean, this is strange. I mean, I'm picking out his good stuff, and you're like, well, Tate did most of it.
It wasn't,
this is strange for us.
Not decent, but Griff, are you watching these games and thinking that this is an elite top-level Matt Stafford? Do you feel like it's a mechanical, I make the plays that are there, and then I have enough skill guys that end up making me look good? Like, he's not popping off the page to me.
Well, like I said, we talked about this before. You said with the swagger, and I think he's lost that gunslinger mentality. I think he's really been reined in. It seems you're right. He seems very game manager-esque the last couple of years, but he's not doing that gunslinger mentality anymore. That Brett Favre-esque, just like chuck the ball around. I'm going to throw it past the defender, and my wide receiver is going to catch it. Fit in the tight windows. He doesn't seem to be doing that anymore. You're right. There seems to be a lot more safe throws and safe plays.
Which to me is like the issue, though, because I mean, he has less turnovers, which is a good thing. He looks like a more professional quarterback when he runs it the way he does now. But I miss the days where every few weeks we're getting, 420 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns. I miss the days where, yeah, he had a couple picks, but we get the ball back enough where we can get right back in the game. Like, I bet we only had like 8 or 9 possessions the whole game. I mean, we probably had 5 or 6 in the first half, if that. Like, we don't get the ball enough, and when we do, I don't feel like we're electric enough to like really win big regardless. And then our defense is just not living up to par at all. So, I mean, I think it's got to get fixed. It got to be more explosive. And, like, give me one reason why Kerryon's not getting force-fed the ball. I mean, I don't know that he ever will with this regime because I think they're just set on, hey, a running back can't tote the ball 20 times. But I'm done with that.
I was listening to a radio show this morning, and they were playing some of the Jim Bob Cooter interview. And you just kept sidestepping. It's like, well, the reporters asked him, don't you think Kerryon should get the ball more? And it's like, and you're right. They were like, we only got, this many carries. And he's just like, I'm not getting into that. We're just more focused on keeping him healthy for 16 weeks. Our biggest thing is winning the game. Sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he doesn't fit the scheme or the package that we have out there. And, it was just all like coach rhetoric, and he just kept sidestepping the question. It must have been asked like 3 different times, like, don't you think you should get the ball more? He's obviously the best running back on the field. Don't you think you should get the ball more? And he's just like, I'm not digging into that. I'm not going into that.
Yeah, I heard it.
That's all he kept saying. So I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, I think what it is probably is because, they brought in LeGarrette Blount, and he's still got a little tread on his tires, and they're trying to, like you said, keep him healthy. But you're right. When I saw that, like I said, I was over at Chuck's house, big Cowboys fan, and we were joking about those stats. We really were, because you're right. We're like, hey, 6 carries, 56 yards, man, that's a good game so far. And then at the end of the game, we saw the stats. We're like, boy, you had 9 carries. Oh, okay. We're like, and he's just like, I don't know why you didn't give him the ball more. You're right. It's not like they had to play a whole lot of comeback. I mean, they were down by 10 or something at one point. I mean, still, they had to throw the ball a little bit, but there was a point, they were down a little bit, but we got to give it to LeGarrette Blount. We got to bring Theo Riddick in. It's just, I don't know. I don't know why Kerryon's not getting the ball more, and just to use the guise of, we got to keep him healthy for 16 weeks is crap, considering Kareem Hunt had a whole bunch of carries last year, for Kansas City, and Elvin Kamara had a whole bunch of carries for the Saints. So I don't know. I think they're just, they brought LeGarrette Blount in. He's that old veteran, just you got to keep him happy type thing. So that's all I can figure. I could be totally wrong, but.
Yeah. Well, you usually are wrong. But, I mean, Kerryon, like, to me, he's shown enough where I can just imagine what happens when he gets 20 to 25 touches. I'd love to have at least 18 to 20 rushes and 5 catches or 5 throw-tos, like, at some point, because to me, that's why the good running backs in the NFL get the numbers they do, because there's going to be runs that Kerryon had where you hand it off and somebody blows up the backfield, he gets -2. That's going to happen. But if you keep giving him the football, I mean, extrapolate his numbers, just double up his carries. Okay, he has 118 yards and at least one, if not another touchdown maybe. Like, those are great numbers. But instead, because of the quantity, I mean, I don't care who you give 8, 9 carries to, they're not going to have great numbers and impact the game that much. I mean, he dump trucked Heath for that touchdown. That was one of the greatest short run touchdowns for a Lions player I've seen in forever. I mean, got the ball, got his head down, ran through 2 people, put that sucker in the end zone. I mean, I think we can see that more, and I don't mind LeGarrette Blount getting the ball, but it's when he's getting it, and it's kind of like the quantity of which he's getting it when he's really not doing anything extraordinary. Like, most of the times when Kerryon Johnson gets it, he's doing things that are unseen by Lions running backs. I mean, catching, running, hitting the hole hard. That's what I want to see more. So
it doesn't seem like
it's going to be all the same.
I mean, they want to say I heard you say like you heard the same interview. It's just like, oh, Kerryon doesn't fit the scheme or the package we were in. Doesn't it seem though like when LeGarrette Blount gets the ball, it's pretty much like the same running plays that Kerryon Johnson's getting them. It's not like they're the offensive set's different or anything like that. It's just like it's through the 6 hole or something like that, or right up the middle. It's the same stuff. It's the same plays, just that they're changing the running back. So it's not like, oh, we're running this totally different set for LeGarrette Blount. It's just, and I understand, defenses would key on that. It's like, okay, LeGarrette Blount's in that you can scrap all these plays. These are LeGarrette Blount's plays. I understand that. But you're right. I mean, to say, okay, we're going to carry on 9 carries. Well, we got to get LeGarrette Blount 9 carries. I don't agree with that. I think Kerryon should get the majority.
Nobody
of them.
does, but I mean, Kerryon can house the ball and can move the chains just as well as LeGarrette Blount, and like, we just need to turn the keys over to some of these young guys. I mean, I don't know. It's getting real frustrating for me, and like, I just think that the Lions are handcuffing themselves, and like, these coaches are going to give you ridiculous answers regardless. But everybody with a half a brain knows football and knows who the better running back is. I mean, you want to just go to some numbers here. I got some numbers. Kerryon Johnson has 38 carries for the year.
38, yeah, I heard that today.
LeGarrette Blount has 35. You want to know the yardage, though? Kerryon has 216 total yards. LeGarrette Blount, 95 on basically the same carries. So 5.7 average, or basically a 2.5 average. I mean, just look at the numbers, Pat. I mean, we know these type of things. Like, just let's get it going, man. Let's feed this guy and see what he can do. So anyway, before I get more frustrated on that, so Grifka Golden Tate had a great game. Kerryon didn't get the football. I thought Kenny Golladay was good again. Marvin Jones kind of lost in the shuffle. But overall, beginning of the game, he looked pretty good. I felt like, it was just one of those football games that back and forth, and you knew it was going to go to the end. Grifka, the referees. I'll turn off my mic. Go for it.
That I don't know about that late hit call. I mean, that was one of those things. Like, it looks like he just fell down by himself, and the worst part about it was he hopped right back up. So I can't understand that. But once again, the Cowboys were bailed out with the Darius Slay call that got declined because they obviously got the personal foul call, the late hit call. So I totally don't agree with that call myself. It was just like, that was a head scratcher. But like I said, the Cowboys were bailed out anyways because they were going to get the defensive holding that, Darius Slay, was called, that they obviously didn't need. But there seems like there's a couple plays where, the Cowboys offensive line was holding. I mean, I've seen a couple pictures where the people are like totally like circling it, where Dak Prescott's kind of rolling out. And, I think it's Kennard's coming off the edge, and their offensive tackle just has his right arm just, wrapped around him, and it's an obvious hold. But hey, no call. And the worst part about it wasn't like in a scrum, in the middle. No, it was like on the edge. But I guess that happened a few times, and I don't know. I mean, I know there's some stuff the Lions did to themselves that I can't justify. It's 4th and 7 or 3rd and 7, and I don't know what Eli Harold's doing, or it's 4th and 7. Eli Harold lines up in the neutral zone. It's like, dude, you're on the end. You're staring right at the ball. Do you not realize where you're at? And the play that the Cowboys ran, it was dropped, so it would have been Lions ball instead. Oh, it's 4th and 2. Oh, okay. Well, they're obviously going to give it to Zeke Elliott, who's been busting off, 4 or 5 yards in the second half, on every run. So that's what they did. First down, continue to drive. It's stuff like that that kills us. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a conspiracy guy myself. I think some teams get more calls than other ones, but the Lions had a whole lot of calls, and I think Cowboys had 2 penalties or something, maybe like that all game. I mean, it was kind of out of whack right there, but I don't know about that late hit call. I mean, I don't think it was. I mean, Prescott. I mean, it looked like he slipped himself, and then he stood right back up, and that's when he got hit. So, like I said, the Cowboys were bailed out anyways with the Darius Slay call that they could decline because they got the 15 yards on that.
Griffin, when I give you the floor and turn my mic off and mention the word referees, you're supposed to do what you do, which is go on a big tirade about how the Dallas Cowboys, once again in Dallas, got the favorable calls. I mean, I don't have the penalties in front of me, but it was a lot to a little. And if you're not going to do it, I guess I'll have to. So let's start with the late hit call. First of all, before I even get to it, let's talk about this stupid illegal contact you mentioned that gets called on every play in the NFL. There's not a 3rd down and long where I can't get through it without a stupid illegal contact on some random cornerback. They never even show it barely. You never even know really what happened. So those are just bogus calls in my opinion. I mean, there's going to be contact. It's the NFL. They never follow the 5-yard chuck rule or the contact within 5 yards. They never go by any of these parameters. Just like if you're touching a wide receiver, they're going to throw that flag because they love getting TV time. Second of all, this late hit, you could break it down this simple, Grifka. Either it's a sack and it's a late hit, or it's not a sack and it's perfectly legal. It's one of the two. It can't be both. So, there was no real whistle saying that, I think it was Kennard or whoever it was off the edge that got a piece of him and they went down. So if it's a sack, blow your whistle and it's the end of the play. If it's not a sack, let him get back up and then let us kill him and get a forced fumble or whatever it may be. But you can't, let him trip down, not really stop it, then, have our guy, hey, okay, play's not over, go hit him. Oh, now it's a flag. You can't have it both ways, referees. That just, really frustrated me from top to bottom as one of those calls where it just doesn't need to be made, or these refs have to decide. You can't just sort of go both ways and then give it to the home team. That was annoying. And then I have on my notes here, there was one play by Kennard, I believe it was, where the Cowboys ran one of those look one way, throw the other screens or whatever. These referees are calling these holding calls on the far side of the field. It has nothing to do with the play, and it's not even egregious, man. I don't even know what these guys are seeing half the time. And my biggest pet peeve with the refs, which I'm not really usually a refs lost us the game type of guy, but I get so sick of when these guys go under the hood for these reviews. I feel like they never get it right. Even the experts, they're saying okay, this is definitely going to be this, and then they come out and they say something totally different. It's I don't know what they're watching, but I'm so sick of all these yellow flags out every time I watch an NFL game. It's making parts of it unwatchable for me, where I'm just waiting instead of for a great play or for a 3rd and long to happen. All I'm waiting for is to make sure, I'll literally, when I'm watching a game at the end of a play, yell, instead of great play or way to break it up, no flags, woo! Because that's what I was most worried about, is there would be some flag on the play. So there you go. There's my referee rant, since you didn't bring the noise, because I felt like it was totally skewed again, and I feel like a couple of those calls. I mean, we didn't get into the details about that late hit. I want to say that was 3rd down. It was incomplete, or there was another one where it was 3rd and incomplete, and that was the offside. 3rd down and long, incomplete, offsides, 1st down. These are the kind of things that either the Lions kill themselves or the referees do it. It's one of the two most of the time. So, all right, I'm done. So the final thing we got to talk about, Grifka, I mean, back and forth game, Matt Stafford. I was writing some buddies. Again, I cut you out of the loop because I didn't want to, I felt like you were going to be down. This wasn't going to turn out well, but I was writing some other buddies, and I go, here goes number 9. He's about to do what he does right before he came down and popped that late touchdown to Golden Tate. He did absolutely that. It's still frustrating that he can't get it going in the first 3 quarters, but when it's fourth quarter and we need a touchdown, he's going to deliver, so he did. And then, of course, me, you, every other Lions fan, we look at the clock and we go, oh, boy. There's too much time where I wrote my buddies and I said, okay, you got to play defense now. And I felt like they started off that drive well. We got the hand strip sack where there was nobody in the picture. We played a couple other downs decent, and then what happens? Second and pretty long. Dak Prescott throws this lollipop ball deep down the field to Zeke Elliott, who just over the shoulders it right over Jared Davis. I mean, walk me through what you were thinking on that play, because it couldn't have worked out better for the Cowboys. I mean, they never run those routes to this guy. He never would. I bet you Zeke Elliott would catch like 3 out of 10 of those over-the-shoulder deep balls. But he caught this one like it was no problem and ended the ball game.
So after the game, I had an argument with one of my friends who's a longtime Lions fan about that. I'm just like, why is Jared Davis guarding Zeke Elliott? And he comes back. Linebackers cover running backs all the time. It happens at all levels. I'm like, yeah, but your stud players, I go, stud running backs get covered by DBs. It happens all the time at all levels. And I can understand if Zeke started in the backfield and like flexed out to the slot. And like, okay, that's my man. I need to go with him. But no, that didn't happen. He lined up out there. And we got in this debate, like, he's like, Lions don't have 2 good cornerbacks. Who would you rather have on him? I'm like, I'd rather have Tracy Walker out there. I go, he's a rook, but at least he's shown ball skills. I mean, Jared Davis, I mean, the Lions coaches can defend him. I read this afterwards. They're still defending, his coverage ability. It's just like, really? I mean, I haven't seen any of it. So I don't know what you're defending. But so I don't know why it's like why you have him on. Why you have him on Zeke Elliott? No matter what. I mean, I'd much rather have at least a safety on him, something like that, as opposed to, putting Davis out there who can't cover anyways. I mean, it was a good pass. It really was, and it was a good catch over the shoulder. But still, I mean, he had to step on him. He had to step to 2 steps on Davis. And so, good cornerbacks, I mean, it was one of those things where, when Slade does it, he's in his back pocket. And it's one of those things to make it tough, get the arm up in there, It's not like Davis wasn't even there to even attempt that, So that's what annoyed me the most. It's just, like I said, he started out in the slot, and Davis just went with him. It's like, that guy can't cover. They had to go downfield. What's he even doing on the field is my biggest thing. What's he even doing on the field at that point? I mean, that's what annoys me the most about that play.
I got a couple defenses because, one, we had those injuries, so I think, like, Diggs would normally be out there. I don't think he was out there on that play. Second of all, like, if this is going to be our middle linebacker and our first-round draft pick, like, he hasn't been great in coverage, but you can't hide him all the time. So he was out there. If he's going to defend these guys, he just either has to make the play or learn how to make the play. And the other thing is, there's a crazy stat. Somebody said that Zeke Elliott has never in his career run a route like this far down the field from that type of position. Like, so they pulled a rabbit out of their hat right when it counted, threw a perfect ball, a crazy catch, and Jared Davis was on him, but overall he had decent coverage. But like you said, he can't play the ball, and he didn't even rip through the hands or do anything. Like, even if we let a few more completions go, 8-yard completion, 10-yard, make them work for that. But that one ball took the game from us because then all they had to do was sit on it and kick. So I kind of agree with your other buddy. Like, the linebackers do cover those guys, and it wasn't the perfect situation, but Jared Davis has got to make those plays and got to get better. I mean, he stood flat-footed again while Zeke Elliott ran up to him, and then by the time he made his choice and ran out to the right, of course he's going to be late because he didn't really run with the guy or pick play it better. He just stood there, waited for him to make his move, and then followed him, which that's never going to be good enough. But it was one of those deflating plays. Like, I was just sitting there thinking, man, okay, another play or two, we're going to win this game. And that one perfect play by the Cowboys took it from us for sure. So tip your cap. I wrote my friends too and said, hey, I tip my cap. It was a great throw. It was a great catch. It was a big play when they really needed a big play and put them in perfect situation, and their kicker came up big. So I guess, like, to me, it wasn't the Lions losing a game. Like, they played big at the end and made the plays they had to win offensively. Couldn't get off the field defensively, and then the other team made one play more than they did. So you got to live with those sometimes, but it doesn't make it any easier. It's another loss, and it was a tough one to take. So, it is what it is. It's over with, but we needed that ball game and could have had it.
Yeah, it's another loss to an average team that, we're kind of in that same group of teams that the Dallas Cowboys, the San Francisco 49ers. I think the Lions are in that same bucket with those guys. And yeah, they're road games, but those two games were actually, they're very winnable. It's games that the Lions shot themselves in the foot. And I guess that's the difference between like those winning teams and
but they didn't, though. I just said that. Like, I didn't feel like they shot themselves in the foot.
What are you talking about? I gave you a couple plays where they did that. Eli Harold lining up. They get the ball back right there. Instead,
Eli Harold. That's a terrible play, but that's one play in the game. They made a lot of good plays.
Okay, well, how about Taylor Decker? Like another one of his Jeff Backus plays where he false starts and it stalls another drive, and he's patting himself.
That doesn't impact the win or loss. That's just
yes, it does. All those plays add up.
That was a false start in the second quarter. That's
it stalled the drive.
Gameplay.
It stalled the drive.
Oh my god!
What are you talking about? Are you kidding me? The Eli Harold play didn't matter. It was 4th and 7, and they stopped him. It went to 4th and 2. Zeke Elliott runs up the middle for 5 yards. First down, they go and score. Instead, the Lions don't get the ball back. How does that not affect the outcome? How does that? If that's the case, why don't we just go play the fourth quarter every game?
Would you listen to me? I said the Eli Harold play was big, and that was a good example. I don't think you're Taylor Decker, a false start in the second quarter on a drive that not like, hey, if we don't false start there, we score a touchdown. Like, that's not the case. So, yes, the Eli Harold is a good example of that took the ball out of our hands. I can't name many other plays where we did that, but I can name what I did, the refs, and a few plays the Cowboys made. And I already detailed a few great plays by the Lions to get back in that game, basically win that game until their defense gave it up. So this was not a clown car Lions loss where we just totally cost ourselves. This was a back-and-forth game, and they made one more play than us. And, yeah, okay, we could have been on sides. Yes, that would have been excellent. That's the one. Tell me another one that was just blatantly killed us. Like, I don't think it's out there.
It's all those little things that add up in the end. All those little plays that add up.
Okay, well, you're not going to play a perfect football game, Grifka. I don't know if you noticed that. Like, nobody plays perfect. So when Taylor Decker's pissed at himself, like, yes, I'm pissed too, but I'm not like, oh, wow, I can't believe he did that. Hey, he's due a few issues here or there. It just can't keep happening. And I didn't think there was many plays where I was just shaking my head going, oh, man, that just keeps killing us. Other than Jared Davidson coverage, the offsides is inexcusable. And then you just can't get off the field at the end of the game when you need to. Like, those were the things that killed me. But, we played good enough to win. It's just we didn't make that last play, which, again, to me, that's what the NFL comes down to. Did you make the last play, or did you make, one of those huge plays in the game? What if we scoop up that strip sack, Griff? Because that's ball game.
Right.
We weren't there to get it, but it was a heck of a play.
If Glover Quinn picks that off as opposed to just knocking it in there, and yeah, it was behind him a little. Like I said, it would have had to be a miraculous catch for him to make that. But it's stuff like that. Ball's bad in there, they fall. But
it's not the Glover Quinn again is not a great example in my opinion, because it was a heck of a play by him to read it. He got over there, he deflected the ball, so it's an incompletion. I chalked that up as a good play, not it should have been a pick. What's he going to do? Stab it with his two fingers on his right hand while he's going the other way 100 miles an hour? Like, I just take that as an incredible knockdown, not oh man, dang. That's a heck of a play.
That's all I'm saying. It's a game of inches, and all those inches add up eventually. Down to either winning and losing is what it is. You're right. It's just like it was a remarkable play, but it's one of those things where Jared Davis is 24 inches behind Zeke Elliott, not able to knock the ball out of his hands, make that play. Nevin Lawson, same thing in the first quarter, where he's burned down the sidelines because he's 2 steps beyond the wide receiver, and it's just Dak Prescott made a nice throw down, and it led to a touchdown for the Cowboys. But once again, Nevin Lawson's 2 yards or not 2 yards. He's probably 2 feet behind him. Not in his back pocket, and the ball just goes right to him, and it's over his head, and it's plays like that lead that eventually add up to where it's a win or a loss.
Right. Okay. Well, in your famous words, we'll agree to disagree because there's not going to be one game this year and years to come, Griff. We're not going to be able to nitpick little things like that. I'm talking about the game changers. I'm talking about the stupidity plays, like you say, the offsides, that falls in that category. The game changers are what I focus on. You can always go back and say, oh, this little play here or there, but they happen to both sides. I don't have the Cowboys in front of me, but they had some of the same issues here or there. So anyway, long and short, Lions lost. Could have had it. Wish they would have made one more play. They didn't. It's another loss. Hopefully, I can get it together. I think it's going to be tough, but hopefully they'll make a few more plays. Maybe give some of these young guns the football, and we'll get it together. But this has not been a good start to the season. So, Griff, before we shut this podcast down, I want to get through a couple other things. I just want to talk in general, real quick, about this side topic. We already kind of hit on it, but we'll just quickly talk about it for the people. The offense and the defensive mojo, in my opinion. I'm trying to figure out how this offense will get cranked up because every few weeks I think, man, they could drop 40 burger on this team. And then I watch the game and I go, man, they're not explosive enough with their creativity, with their play calling, with their skill guys to do that when I watch them play. As good as Stafford and some of our receivers and running backs are, they have to find the mojo on offense. And when the heck are we going to start creating turnovers or being explosive on defense? We have no players that I think scare the opponent, and we're not getting those great bounces like we were a year or two ago where you're getting tip balls, picks, you're getting Slay coming up with a pick in the fourth quarter when you need it to ice a ball game. Are either of these sides of the ball going to be able to find the mojo, or are we just stuck this year where we're still learning everything and the Lions are just kind of going through the motions? Because I don't see any mojo on either side of the ball. It's killing me.
This tags along with that same argument on the defensive side. My buddy's like, it's karma. They lose because Golden Tate showboats his way into the end zone, and Darius Slay wags his finger, after knocking down a ball, and because he's like, oh, you think after they lost, he's like, yo, you think Darius Slay's wagging his finger? And I came back and I'm just like, Darius Slay played a good game. He did his job. Yeah, I go, it's not karma. I go, it's just that the Lions don't have enough talent on the defensive side of the ball. And that's pretty obvious right now. Ziggy's hurt, and hopefully he's back, this week. But it's one of those things where right now they just don't have enough talent, on the defensive side. They got a lot of, average to solid players, but not enough, like you said. Nobody's fearing those guys. Darius Slay's their best cornerback, and they were still trying to pass on him. They were still passing at him. So it's, obviously he doesn't fear him enough where it's like, oh, we can't throw at him. So teams still try him, and, he does a good job. So I just think the defense just doesn't have enough playmakers right now. Offensive side of the ball, I know this. We had talked about this in the preseason. Maybe it was, Jim Caldwell last couple of years, putting the handcuffs on Jim Bob saying, hey, let's not do this. Let's just keep, Matt Stafford in this offense in check. Let's hold on, make sure he doesn't turn the ball over. It doesn't seem like that. It seems like you said, it's exactly the same. It's all safe. Hey, if we manage the game, we don't lose the game, and Stafford doesn't turn the ball over. But you're right. There's none of that swag where okay, Stafford has the ball back, late in the game, and the other team's going, oh gosh, he's going to march down the field. Everything's it almost seems like, he can do it, but it just. You're right. Where's it early on? It seems like, if a team builds a big enough lead, they can put it in. They can put that game in the bag.
The first time I saw it though was on that drive where we needed the touchdown to take the lead. I felt like there was a little bit of mojo in that pocket ball right between the corner and the safety. And gets to Golden Tate, he houses it to the end zone. Stafford getting the old helmet tap with the wink to the camera. To me, that was the first time I had felt it in a while, where I felt like that one was a play where they used to make a lot. Remember when they used to always throw that rocket ball between the corner and the safety, and we always get a good chunk on it, because nobody other than Stafford and a few others can make that throw. So I just want to get that going. And to me, I don't even want to talk as much about the talent, because mojo and just offensive, yeah, comes down to players, but there's something to be said about even when we didn't have good players, we just had a different vibe. Even like in the Schwartz era, we had a vibe of like mojo on defense that we were just going to be nasty and we were going to like rush the passer and deal with whatever else comes. Like, what's our identity? I guess is sort of what I'm hoping for. I'll learn soon. And then how you're not going to win football games if you can't turn the football over, and you're not going to win games like people were saying. Mike Valeni was saying, "Oh, they got to win offensively because that's the only thing they're good at." It's like, not this offense. Like, I mean, it's explosive at times and the numbers look good, but I don't feel like we're going to outshoot anybody at this point the way we're going or the certain play calls we're calling. So we absolutely have to, do something. I thought Patricia would bring that kind of mojo on the defense. Blitzes, different looks. I mean, there's been nothing that's blown me away as far as, fronts or bringing people from different angles or, oh, wow, he schemed up that interception. It's just been a lot of just regular piss poor defense, in my opinion. So, I mean, got to get it together, got to find that mojo. And if they don't, I mean, every week when I don't feel like they have any juice, as I'd say, like I just feel like it's gonna be another one of those games. But if I can feel like they're clicking or they're moving or they get no huddle or we're slinging the ball around, is when I feel like we have a chance to beat anybody. So no matter what the defense does, I mean, I agree too. We should be able just to outscore people, but not the way they're going now. So, whatever the Lions have to do, they need to find that mojo and they need to sort of find that swagger, like you're saying. Yeah, it'll come down to players in the long run, but even in the meantime, what's our identity and why are we not aggressive like all these other teams that are coming up with unique play calls? They're going for it on 4th and shorts. They're pulling rabbits out of their hat in pressure points of the game. I mean, these aren't first quarters. Some of these coaches are doing some of this aggressive stuff. It's 3rd, 4th quarters. They're pulling out some of these aggressive play calls. So we got to get that going to win, man, especially with the 1-3 record. You got to really turn up the volume, I would say, to get this season turned around or just get your whole team in a better state than they are right now.
Yeah.
So, Grifka is a tough one to talk about, man. Lost to the Cowboys. I'm sure our buddy Chuck Dog loved it, but it was a tough game. It was actually kind of a good football game to watch, I thought, back and forth, tip your cap. Both teams made plays, but it's not fun when your team comes out on the short end. So, again, like I say, it's another loss. We got to deal with it. We'll get back here get another show out on Friday and talk about the Packers. To me, that's another swing game. It's like you win it, you feel good again, and you see what this team can do. You lose it, and it's really a tough one to kind of come back from. So we'll deal with all that here later in the week. But, Grifka, we got a few questions here. We'll get through those and finish this one up. Another podcast loss, unfortunately, we had to talk about today.
Yeah.
So Grifka, today our questions are a little bit different, but fun nonetheless, I believe. So I'll just work my way through these. Respond if you'd like. So our first question, it says, I think Jared Davis is great on defense. Signed, Ernie Sims. Next question says, Tease Tabor seems like an excellent second-round pick to me. Signed, Matthew Millen. I guess these are more statements, but I mean, good nonetheless by the folks up there. Our third one says, I think the refs did a great. Let me read this again. I think the refs did great on Sunday in Dallas. Signed, the zebra that picked up the pass interference call for the first time in NFL history against the Lions. ... in the playoffs. ... on the winning freaking play where Matt Stafford had to go. That's the first time that's ever happened in NFL history. Good job, or whatever he said. Great work, everybody. Oh, my gosh. So that ref, along with others, I'm sure thought it was a great game on Sunday. Let me get through a couple more of these, Grifka. This one says, Paul Pasqualoni looks like a great defensive coordinator to me. Signed 20 years ago. I can't believe the Lions lost like that on Sunday. Signed, I'll take the wind. Favre to Sharp, the Calvin no catch, that was a catch, the 10-second runoff versus Atlanta, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, thank you, folks, for the questions or the statements or the funny responses, but none of those helped my mood. All those were brutal memories of some of the struggles we're going through right now. But we got to be honest. We obviously drink the Lions Kool-Aid, and we're hoping this team turns it around. But it has been a tough first few weeks. I mean, we're looking for things to hang our hat on, Grifko. We're looking for better offense. We're looking for this defense to get it together, and it just hasn't happened yet. So we're hoping that it happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah, definitely a tough one. Hopefully we can bounce back here.
Yeah, absolutely. So everybody, thanks for listening. We appreciate everybody that's subscribing, sharing this with a friend, checking us out. You know, we're trying to bring you some game reviews, some game previews. I've been having some fun doing some cover ones, just some real short episodes with some music in the background, which I think has been a fun change up. So everybody check those out. And like I say, hopefully we can start sacking up more W's. So I know me and Griff can have a lot more fun when we get to argue about W's rather than about these losses. But everybody, thanks again for everything. Drink it in. And we'll be back to you Friday morning with another podcast here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. Everybody, take care. And we got to say it. Let's go Lions.
Pack the bags, start the plane. This game is over. It is over.
What a comeback by the Lions!
Drink it in, man.